للعالمين الصلاة والسلام عليك يا نبي الله السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. To everyone, special welcome to IMAN again for this time of the year preparing for Ramadan. Without any further delay, I hand over to IMAN.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thanks for having me on. I think it's an honor to speak always when the families are involved. And today the topic that I was given was why preparation is important before Ramadan. So essentially preparing our families for Ramadan. So it's quite important to remember that Ramadan is a physical, spiritual, as well as an emotional journey. So as we would prepare our homes if a guest is coming to visit us, so we need to prepare our bodies and routines before the blessed month. A good preparation will prevent you from getting extremely fatigued, dehydrated, sugar spikes, as well as being, we get sometimes irritability and burnout, especially towards the end of Ramadan. Also have to keep in mind that with Ramadan being in mid-February this year, we are expecting a very hot month, and I think the hydration is quite an important topic to address. So how do we prepare our body before Ramadan? So essentially, you have to start now. So a good Ramadan starts before the blessed month actually comes in. We don't wait for the first day of Ramadan. How you can do this from a nutritional point of view, gradually reducing your tea and coffee, so that's your caffeine intake, your sugary drinks, as well as the late night snacking. Just even a day or two before, pretty much start today. Delay your breakfast by an hour tomorrow. Skip your snacks between your meals. This is already preparing your body for what's to come next week. Also try to practice earlier sleeping times, as your sleeping times during the month of Ramadan is cut quite short because we wake up much earlier. We have Tarawih through late in the evening as well. And also trying to build up on your hydration already from now. So again, hydration is something that's quite important for the coming month because of the heat. And it is also important, especially if you feel that you get cramping during the days, if you get headaches, if you feel really tired already. A good idea would be to keep electrolytes on hand and sip through your electrolyte containing water either at your suhoor or your iftar. Remember to focus on smaller, regular meals as well. So for those with medical conditions, remember we do have a lot of people in our community suffering with diabetes, blood pressure, cholesterol, kidney disease. It is important to get in touch with your doctor before the end of this week. So remember, sometimes with fasting, your medication can be a bit too strong if you are fasting. So number one, you first got to find out if it's safe for you to fast from a medical perspective. Never stop your medication on your own. If you need to adjust dosages, all of this needs to be communicated with your doctor beforehand. You need to keep a plan for what time you're taking tablets, if you need to make any dosage adjustments, if you need to change the time that your medication needs to be taken, how often you should monitor your blood glucose if you're a diabetic, and also what to do if you start to feel unwell during the day. So remember, at the end of the day, our bodies are an amana from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and your health comes first. And that's why Islam does give us the concession for those that are unable to fast. They should not be fasting because your health comes first. Okay, so the spirit of suhoor, or your morning meal, is actually the most powerful meal. So just like we love to say breakfast is the most important meal of the day, suhoor is essentially not optional. It's actually a protection for your day. So we aim to look at this from a few perspectives. So the first thing is to have slow releasing carbohydrates to gradually release your energy through the day. So you don't want to be burning through your energy by 10 o'clock and then you're exhausted and feeling the fast already throughout the day. So things that work well for suhoor is oats, whole wheat, seeded, low GI breads, and obviously your low GI cereals. The next thing that you should add to your suhoor is a protein. Remember that protein reduces your hunger. So things like eggs, yogurt, milk, lentils, beans, peanut butter are good protein options for the morning. And then always healthy fats. So things like nuts, seeds, avocado works really well during Ramadan. And also trying to keep up with at least 1 to 2 glasses of water in the morning. It's also key to avoid your very salty foods at this time. So things like achar, bologna, sausages, Viennas, because the very salty foods can actually make you more dehydrated. So what do you avoid at suhoor essentially, like I mentioned, is your sugary cereals, a lot of cakes and biscuits, the leftover savories and pies that were lying over from the night before, and too much tea or coffee. So especially if you're somebody that enjoys quite a bit of caffeine during the day, it's important to slowly start decreasing your caffeine content. So if you drink 3 cups a day, already from tomorrow, try to go, a few days with 2 cups and then bring it down to 1 cup so that you don't get the caffeine withdrawal symptoms during Ramadan. Okay. And then when we look at iftar or breaking your fast, it's important to break your fast with a balance. So remember, first and foremost, the sunnah way is the most healthy way. So this is to start very gently, to drink your water and have your dates when you break your fast. And then you can have your soup or halim or a fruit platter at this point, and then pause, get up, go for a little walk, read your maghrib salah, and then return. So what happens here then is essentially you allow your body a few minutes and for your brain to actually realize that you have been fed. There's a slow release of insulin. It triggers your satiety hormones so that all of a sudden you just don't put your body in a shock after a long day of fasting. And then the plate model, I think this is a dietitian's favorite thing to talk about. Doesn't matter the disease condition. If we're talking to somebody that's healthy, somebody that's got any diseases, we love to talk about the plate model. So essentially what this means, if you look at a plate in front of you, if you divide your plate in half of your plate should always be vegetables or salad. And then a quarter of your plate should be your proteins, things like your chicken, your fish, your meat, your beans. And then a quarter of your plate should be starch, which is your rice, your pasta, your potatoes, your roti should be there. Okay, so the common traps that we face nowadays, and I think it's become a lot more in the more recent years, is what happens is we turn iftar into a grand feast, almost like a wedding party every night. So we have multiple dishes available. There's always milkshake, there's 3 or 4 starters, then you have your soup, then there's dessert, there's a main meal, there's a lot of things going on. And often we have a lot of fried foods on the table. So if you think about it, samosas, savories, spring rolls, pies, moons, you name it, right? The savories get more, I think, more probably exciting each year with what we can make. And then we often, because we don't take the gap or the break to let your body, rest, we work kind of like in a robotic mode where we feel the time between Maghrib and Isha is quite short. So we want to eat, you want to get your energy back, you want to have time to lie down, make a fresh wudu, and then you're ready to go to the mosque thereafter. So we tend to almost inhale our food having a large portion. We eat too quickly, which results in bloating, heartburn, and obviously sugar spikes. And at the end of the day, what happens here is that you feel too tired or too heavy and lethargic to actually go pray your Tarawih Salah. Or if you get to Tarawih, you then tend to not make it through your full 20 rakats. So we want very simple plates for iftar as well. A healthier swap from a dietitian's point of view, if you're having your samosas or your spring rolls, try to put them in the air fryer or bake them. The second thing would be if you're having something like sweet corn fritters, change it over to something that's more grilled. So you could do grilled like chicken kebabs or grilled kebabs, grilled sausages as well. And then try to go easy on the sweet drinks. So I know a lot of the times we'll have, your sherbet water, there'll be a milkshake. Try to change these out for fresh fruit juices, for smoothies. These are also very hydrating, has all the vitamins and minerals that you need, but much better than your sweetened drinks like your sodas and your milkshakes. Hydration, again, very important. It is almost the forgotten ibadah. You need to still aim for your 6 to 8 glasses of fluid a day. And this is in a shorter period of time because you only have from iftar to suhoor. So obviously, we want to spread this out. Hydration doesn't mean drinking 6 glasses at once. In fact, that actually makes you feel worse. It needs to be spread out because your body needs time to absorb the water and use it for the physiological processes. So hydration doesn't simply only include water, but the idea here is to limit your tea and coffee because that dehydrates you, limit your sugar drinks or your fizzy drinks. Try to include things like water, like I mentioned, with or without your electrolyte powders or rehydrate, milk. The soups that we have also contribute towards hydration, and then fruits with high water content and vegetables with high water content. So if you look at things like watermelon, grapes, you can add oranges if you can get oranges. I know it's not the season for oranges with all of us at the moment, so it just depends where in the world you are. And then cucumbers as well. So these things are very hydrating and can be included on a very simple, balanced iftar plate. So just try to remember to make it simple. Start with your sunnah foods. I was talking earlier today to another group about, the simplicity of making your iftar, swapping it out. Like, when and how did we decide that savory should be, part of every Ramadan? You can have your savories throughout the year. I mean, there's 11 months in the year that you can continuously have as many savories as you like. We kind of want to take all of that savories, the 20, 30, 40 dozens that's lying in our freezer. We feel we need to finish it in the 30 days. And you actually really don't have to, especially in the heat now. Go for simple fruit sunnah platters. Put figs, put dates, put olives, put yogurt, put cucumbers. Remember your water, basic like your laban and your bagel. So very, very simple iftar platters can actually go a long way. And then another thing that just to incorporate into our lifestyle or to remember is, because this is a family group and we're chatting to families here, it's important to look after your elders and your children as well. So remember that our elders, before you notice, your parents, your grandparents, they suddenly get older. And it can be such a huge jump from last year to this year. And remember, getting old is something that, as a human being, you have to accept, but sometimes it's a little bit of a pill to swallow. So you do find that if somebody struggles from last year to this year and there's a big jump in their energy levels, they may often feel too shy to admit it. And so we need to, watch out for things like dizziness, confusion in our elderly patients, especially if you've got family members with diabetes, with kidney disease. Look for these symptoms that puts them at a higher risk of falling or becoming unwell. Again, I mentioned that Islam does allow the concession because your health comes first. And then we have a lot of young children. And again, I bring it back to the point that we are expecting a very hot Ramadan. And as parents and grandparents, we feel very proud of our young kids. In the community, we have kids as young as 4 years old that keep all their fasts. And we want to encourage them and stuff, but the kids that cannot make it or cannot manage, or if they managed to keep 30 fasts last year, but this year they're just finding it exceptionally hot, it's important to, don't take them off the track entirely, because you still want them to grow up loving Ramadan and finding it to be, it's almost the best month of the year. Kids are very excited for it as well. So even with young kids that can't cope because, they still have to go to school, they're waking up early. Sometimes it's something as simple as maybe other friends in the classroom are not fasting, and that can become tempting for the children. So encourage them to fast, even the half-day fast. It brings the love for Ramadan to them. And then make their suhoor very exciting. So kids absorb food a lot different from the way that we as adults absorb food. So whatever they're looking for, try to build their suhoor in the same manner of, carbs, protein, and a little bit of healthy fats, but make it exciting for them. Ask them today what they would like to have tomorrow. Let them set the table. If they want to use colorful plates, let them do that. Whatever makes it exciting for them to wake up, let them always partake in this, because it brings upon that love for Ramadan. Even younger kids that simply wake up because the parents have woken up, but they have zero intention of fasting. If they want to be part of the suhoor, it's important that we let them be part of it. And then we focus on spirit and not just their hunger. Okay. And then again, because it's a family class, we always want to speak about things that we can do as a family to make our Ramadan easier and more simple. I think this specifically goes out to more of the men folk that are on the group or, listening here. It's important to, sort of, because I feel it's kind of like with the ladies, we want to prepare for our families. We feel this is definitely an ibadah for us, and we spend all the time preparing, good meals to feed them, and we will, inshallah, get the reward of feeding the fasting people as well. But it's also important to maybe change this narrative through this Ramadan, where meals can be planned ahead, where it's less stressful, so that in that last crucial hour and a half before iftar, almost between Asr and Maghrib, instead of the ladies sitting in the kitchen checking that the samosas are served hot or that the pies come out freshly from the oven and everything is, needs to be plated and perfect for the table, things can be much more simpler. The basic things, like I mentioned, if we do a fruit platter, if you do fresh juices, this can always be prepared earlier in the day, kept in the fridge and taken out just in time for iftar. This means that there's less stress about getting the food on the table, and you have more time to sit as a family and make ibadah. So things like this, set one simple goal, maybe as a family, and especially if you have young kids learning the Quran in the house or hufaz in the house, between that time of, between Asr and Maghrib, that most crucial time, have all the screens switched off. So again, here to be a little bit more gentle and intentional with your parenting with your kids. You don't want them to feel, just because it's Ramadan, I can't watch TV, or I can't be playing outside, or whatever it is. You want them to love Ramadan, and you have that spirit in the home. So bring them together, do something as a family. Maybe you read one page of the Quran as a family, or if you are 4 family members, you can finish a quarter of the Quran where everybody reads one page and takes a turn. And by this way, you can complete. Maybe it's possible that you can complete an entire Khatam al-Quran as a family together in this time. And to do this as a family, you obviously need everybody together, not the ladies of the house sitting in the kitchen and preparing last minute things for iftar. Kids can also create a Ramadan timetable. I think already in most of our homes, we probably have the Ramadan timetable of our closest mosque up. Let the kids highlight it, let them draw on it, let them be the ones to read the time that the siren will go or that azan will go. And, they can tick off day to day, create sort of like an advent calendar for them where they get a little treat every day at the end of the fast, whether they fasted or not, but bring about that general love and excitement about Ramadan. And also, not only to tell the kids, in Ramadan, we fast because we want to feel hungry, like the poor people feel hungry throughout the year. It makes us more aware of what's happening around the world, but also to teach them the meaning of sacrifice, the meaning of gratitude. Thank you, Ya Allah, for the plate that you have put in front of me. Decreasing wastage in the home, because we tend to over-prepare because, you're hungry during the day, but when the iftar time sets in, everybody's not hungry anymore. And also giving charity. So, preparing little iftar packs, or even if you can't do iftar packs, something a little small way, on a weekend, possibly take the kids out to the orphanage and hand out little sweets or fruit packs or something that would, brighten someone else's day, but also teaching the children about giving to others. So most importantly, if we enter Ramadan only hungry, you've actually missed the entire point. But if we enter Ramadan prepared in your body, in your nutrition, in, keeping your vessel strong and being gentle in heart and united as a family, you actually leave your Ramadan transformed and stronger spiritually, physically, and mentally when you enter into your Ramadan. And the other thing that, we, in the last 10 nights, we go out, we look for Laylatul Qadr. And sometimes what happens is because we've now overindulged throughout the first 20 days, we've eaten everything that we've wanted to eat, and we have our desserts every night, your body actually feels heavier and more lethargic. And it's supposed to be the other way around, where you prepare your body in the first 20 days so that in the last 10 days, you actually have exceptional strength. And you go out, you look for your Laylatul Qadr, and you grasp the full opportunity to get the full reward of this night. Okay, I think I've spoken more than enough now. If anybody has any questions and want to add it to the chat box or ask the questions, I'll open the floor for everybody.
Okay, while I'm waiting for the other participants to ask questions, I've got one. When it comes to Taraweeh, obviously the females also are starting to go for Taraweeh, but when I'm looking at the males also, the masajids, it's becoming a bit common nowadays that every masjid where we go, then there's water bottles put in front for like almost each musalli. Observations sometimes that I pick up, guys are drinking water like, maybe 2-3 bottles at one go, like you said, sip, maybe one sip in the first rakat or fourth rakat, whatever it is. What's the advice on that? Because I'm not saying we mustn't give out water to the musallis, but it's like, you'll find the people drinking every second rakat. Once the salam is made, they drink. I'm not saying they mustn't hydrate themselves, but what's the best way?
Yeah, so you don't want to essentially overhydrate yourself. So sipping through, so you also don't have to stop to use the bathroom through your 20 rakats of Taraweeh, because Taraweeh, it does take some time. So if you overdrink, you're going to have to break, go to the bathroom, make a fresh wudu, come back. And in that, you could miss, 2, 4, even 6 rakats. Or sometimes, we feel extra lazy and be, okay, I've drank so much water, now I'm just going to go home and, it'd be like that. So essentially a good way to maintain a hydration schedule during Ramadan, in the morning when you wake up, have a glass of water. And then, during your suhoor time, especially if you have to take medication, have a second glass of water. Then when it's time to break your fast, have your dates with a glass of water, you pause, you go pray, you come back, and then you have a glass of water with your meal again, so with your main meal. And then before you leave for Taraweeh, you have a glass of water. And then throughout your Taraweeh, you should be sipping through a total of 1 or 2 at most glasses of water. So in that, you'll get 6 glasses of water, and then we count the additional 2 glasses from your soups, from that cup of tea if you want in the evening, the glass of milkshake, or your hydration fruit. So aim to have 5 to 6 glasses of actual water, and then our foods will contain additional water as well.
Jazakallah. The participants, the floor is open to everyone. Anyone, please feel free to ask any questions. Welcome to text the question as well. Okay. I would like to maybe take over here for a few minutes quickly, while hopefully somebody comes up with a question. If not, then we can round off. So from our side, we're preparing obviously as usual from the classes that we normally do here. This year we will continue doing another surah, inshallah, maybe another 30 verses. We might not complete one full surah because we're trying to give education in a way that the people can absorb. Like I said, Ramadan is not only about the time for making iftar or sehri, it's also spiritual upliftment. So we will continue still this year with the Quran surah, which we will select soon, inshallah. And that will come out like how we've done in the previous years, the translation word for word and line for line. The other thing that we will have during Ramadan are the names, the day, the Battle of Badr, where Maulana Ahmad MOOKADAM normally comes and reads out, and the barakah and the wasila that we take. We will be having that live as well. Normally it happens between Asr and Maghrib, so we will do that this year as well, inshallah. The other thing that the foundation is added on, the Cockney Foundation, inshallah, something that we will be introducing this year also is the Quran course questions, which will go out every day. I think it's motivation not only for the children, but for the parents and everybody as well. I think the important thing, like Iman has said, it's not about food only, spiritual upliftment. From my side, these are the programs and plans we have for Ramadan, and I would dua to all the participants. Allah Pak give strength to everybody during this month, and give strength to our children, especially, and our elders, because it is going to be a hot Ramadan. And at the end of the day, we make dua Allah Pak bring us closer to Him, inshallah khair. Ameen. So if there's no questions from anybody else, I would like to say one more time thank you to Iman for every year making herself available. I think our first video, I'll repeat this every time I see Iman, started off with Iman when we got it correctly recorded. So even just to share with everyone, Iman is just not a dietitian. She noticed the honors, her being a hafidha, all that. It just shows the combined side of knowledge and education is not only about the dunya, it's also about the akhirah. So our children today are not sitting and only preparing themselves for this dunya, but children like Iman, alhamdulillah, also preparing themselves for the akhirah. And what she's done today is also share information to the community for free. I mean, normally this goes in a consultation format, but this is khidmat to the community as well. So we must really appreciate it from the bottom of our hearts. Once again, thanks to all the participants. If Ramadan is next week, Mubarak to you all, and Allah give us all strength to continue. Jazakumul khair. Iman, anything from you before we conclude as well?
Just Ramadan Kareem to everybody. I hope it's a fruitful one and a very healthy one, inshallah.
Inshallah. Ameen. Jazakallah khair. And assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to everyone.
Assalam wa rahmatullah.